toy.
I mean, should we talk about the Rancor in the room?
That's that's everything. Everywhere you go. I mean, it was. I got in like 3 or 4 different separate Rancor conversations just yesterday.
All right, let's have the definitive Rancor conversation right now.
Okay, here we go. So we got multiple perspectives here.
Yeah, the Rancor at one point was at 5,200 backers. Hasbro released their tier 2, which was the backdrop with some bones, which when I first saw the photo of the Rancor and then the white little pieces at the bottom, I thought somebody spilled popcorn in the photo. Like it didn't look like anything. And people started to unback it. And then they went ahead and did their live stream from a conference room, which was, they released tier 2 and they waited a while, and then quickly they're releasing tier 3 and 4. So it seemed a lot like Damage Control because people were unbacking and they're like, wait, hold on. So they had this live stream, and I'm sorry, I'm biased here because it felt like Damage Control. It felt rushed. They didn't have it mic'd properly. The lighting was kind of dim in the room. You can hear the echoes. So it did feel to me like it was, we need to do something and turn this thing around. And it didn't help it. The Rancor itself looked beautiful. They had a painted version of it. I think when you have it, like when you do a Kickstarter program, for the most part, sometimes they have a finished product. And I think a multi-billion-dollar entertainment company like Hasbro should have a completed Rancor and say, here it is. This is what we've got. Slap it on the table. I don't think they should be doing gray models. Like, you're not a small toy company. You should have the resources to put the Rancor out and show it to us from the start. I think a lot of people felt like it wasn't a $350 toy.
Right.
200, maybe 250. Yes, I do that. But there needs to be some sort of value added to the Rancor. I think with those tiers, that's the whole thing, is to get excitement, to bring things that they can't normally do at retail. And if you can't do an ULA or a Rancor Keeper, this is the perfect opportunity, because they are, the Rancor is the showcase. It's the piece that we're buying into, and everything should be in orbit around that.
Yeah.
So it's questionable when they do add, as much as I love that, the Salacious Crumb. I mean, it's just a deliberate repack. We have this. It's coming out. Let's just throw it on a card. People love it. And I think the feedback that they're starting to see from the community is that we don't want that. We want things that relate to the Rancor. Tony Johnson tagged the start of the live stream at about 5136 for backers, and now it's under 5,000.
Jesus.
We're in the 4,900s.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it, I think it shows the youth of the current Hasbro Star Wars team. They're more about building that vibe on the internet, building that sort of campaign approach to it. And that's why they're doing the prototypes. And I'll be honest, this sort of seems like what happened with, the sequel trilogy. There was no direction when it started, really. It was more about building this vibe, and you get this toy. But I just feel like their youth is showing on this. I think when it comes to building a brand, they got that part down. But when it comes to knowing what collectors want, I think sometimes they miss the mark.
It's an interesting perspective. I didn't think about it because I guess I think of Hasbro as corporate. I don't really think of the team that's behind the whole project, and maybe they're a little bit younger and they're not the 40, 50-year-old collectors who resonated, who've been with Star Wars since its conception.
Yeah.
I think when you're losing Mark Boudreau, I think that was a big loss, I think, for the team and for the brand, because he was that vestige of the old Kenner days. And now that he's gone, I know that they've made like a public mention of this in some of their branding, in that, we've got guys from the Kenner line working on this. That's a selling point for them now, but I don't know that those guys had quite the voice and the input that Mark Boudreau did. So when he left the company, man, I just saw that as a big loss for the brand.
Yeah, I just think they lost when they announced it at 350, it lost a big chunk of people because like with the Ghostbusters thing, that's at 400 and it has lights and all the things, lights and sounds and everything, and the Rancor just sits there. I think if they were going to do it at 350, they should have said this is what you get for 350 and said, forget the tiers, you're getting the Rancor and you're getting all this other stuff, and then I think they'd be okay. But unless they do that, I don't think it's going to get backed.
No. Yeah, the first tier is at 11,000. I think they're just going to barely make it to 9, and if they don't, they're going to extend it a little bit. But I think Hasbro has shot itself in the foot. I think it's like Jerry is saying there, that they're showing their age and inexperience, I guess, when it comes to dealing with older collectors, and that's who's collecting this stuff. It's not the kids. It's the older generation. And when you see campaigns like Yakface saying "No Ula, no Mula," I know Hasbro looks at this stuff, and I know they see it, and I know they're part of these Facebook groups, and when they see that, they're ignoring it.
Yeah.
Right. Because well, what would it have cost them? $100,000 to do that figure, the Ula?
Anywhere between 100 to 500,000.
You're right. And it's still something that, just like what they did with the Yak Face mold, they could have released it later.
Yeah.
Re-released it later because, you do a special paint, or you do a special card, or you do something that says that it came with the Rancor, and then you could release it a year or two later and be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you could have put dirt on her feet because she's in the Rancor pit, and then you could release it during the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi with clean feet. I mean, that's just little things like that.
Could they have used the part of the slave Leia they did?
Say that again, Jerry. You broke up.
Could they have repurposed some of the parts from the old slave Leia that they did early in the line?
I don't think so.
There's nothing there.
They're also, that brings up a good point, because they've kind of stepped away from that line.
Okay.
They don't make, I guess, what they call her Hut Slayer Leia.
Okay,
and so would they want another female who's captive slave to Jabba? Maybe Lucasfilm was like, no, you got to stay off of that one.
That makes sense.
And they didn't want to make a half-naked man for the Rancor. Listen to the Smugglers Galaxy podcast every Tuesday wherever you download your podcast. This is the way.